Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 12, Text number 17. Tasyam Vishuddha Karanaha Shivavarvikaya Badvasanam Jitamarun Manasa Hritaksha Stule Dadara Bhagavat Pratirupaeta Jayam Satad Avyavahito Vyasatrit Samadho. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In Badrika Ashrama, Dhruva Maharaj's senses became completely purified because he bathed regularly in the crystal clear purified water. He fixed his sitting position and by yogic practice controlled the breathing process and the air of life. In this way, his senses were completely withdrawn. Then he concentrated his mind on the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord, which is the exact replica of the Lord, and thus meditating upon him, entered into complete trance. Purport. Here is a description of Ashtanga Yoga system to which Dhruva Maharaj was already accustomed. Ashtanga Yoga was never meant to be practiced in a fashionable city. Dhruva Maharaj went to Badrika Ashrama and in a solitary place alone he practiced yoga. He concentrated his mind on the Archa Vigraha, the worshipable deity of the Lord, which exactly represents the Supreme Lord, and thus thinking constantly of that deity, he became absorbed in trance. Worship of Archa Vigraha is not idol worship. Archa Vigraha is an incarnation of the Lord in the form appreciable by a devotee. Therefore, devotees engage in temple in the service of the Lord as Archa Vigraha, a form made of stula, material, objects such as stone, metal, wood, jewel or paint. All of these are called stula or physical representations. Since devotees follow the regulatory principles of worship, even though the Lord is there in his physical form, he is non-different from his original spiritual form. Thus, the devotee gets benefit of achieving the ultimate goal of life, that is to say, becoming always absorbed in thought of the Lord. This incessant thought of the Lord as practiced in Bhagavad Gita makes one the topmost yogi. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So as Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, Dhruva Maharaj was already accustomed to Ashtanga Yoga, and now he wanted to perfect the last stage of Ashtanga Yoga. For that, he needed to go to a solitary place. Not only solitary place, he went to Badrika Ashrama. It's a holy dham, and where the pure waters, crystal clear pure water of the Ganges, it is said that by regularly bathing, he became completely purified. His senses became purified. Dhruva Maharaj's senses became completely purified because he bathed regularly in the crystal clear purified water. And then he sat in a yogic position, and which he was already practiced. Controlling air, he had already practiced. Now the last stage was 24 hours to be absorbed, concentrating the mind on the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. The Acha Vigraha form of the Lord is the exact replica. Prabhupada uses the word which is the exact replica. And the purport also say the word to word translation, Bhagavat Pratirupena, on the exact form of the Lord. Pratirupa, exact form, exact replica of the Lord. Then he meditated upon him and entered into complete trance. So, it's a great mercy of the Supreme Lord that he takes on different kinds of incarnations. In gross matter, Stula, a physical body of metal, wood, or any of those deities, even earth. He incarnates into this Stula Rupa. His original Rupa incarnates into the Stula Rupa. Incarnation is different, and when the Lord comes himself, it is different. When the Lord descends into this material world himself, he doesn't take on any Stula body. He doesn't have to. So there is incarnation is different. Lord himself coming is different. Krishna himself came down 5,000 years back. Or Lord Narayana himself came into the heart of Dhruva Maharaj when he was young. So those are not incarnations. Incarnations are when the Lord comes into the material element to facilitate our gross senses and our attention energy. Whether you see or hear or what, you need to give attention energy. We are connected to the material world. We are spirit souls. We are spirit egos. We are not this body, but we are connected to this body through attention. That's why I am aware of my body. What is the energy? Suppose I go into coma, my attention is not there on the body. So I am connected to this body through the attention. And attention is a spiritual energy coming from the soul. You don't see awareness or attention in any material elements. So Krishna, the Supreme Lord, incarnates into Stula Vastu because we can see him with our Stula eyes. Because we can hear him through our Stula ears. So this is a merciful process to facilitate my attention to touch the Supreme Lord through my Stula senses. Is a great opportunity given for the conditioned souls to directly associate with the Satchidananda Rupa, Shabda of the Lord, and thereby melt away the contaminated consciousness of Asat, Achit and Niranand. That is the reason in any spiritual process, continuous touch with my attention on the incarnation is the most essential for effective purification. It is said here, avyavahita, without stopping, dhyana, meditating upon. Then he entered into samadhi. So what is the clue? We have to understand the science behind these things. There's transcendental knowledge behind these things. So what was Dhruva Maharaj doing? Dhruva Maharaj was focusing his attention energy on the Archa Vigraha of the Lord. The Archa Vigraha which is meditating in his mind, the Lord enters. His original Rupa enters into the Archa Vigraha, which only attention can touch. The Stula Vigraha can be touched by the gross senses. But only when you give attention, you can hear or you can come in contact with the transcendental Lord who is incarnated into this Stula Vigraha. Lord is very kind. Just by concentrating on or just by touching the Stula Vigraha is like the dress of the Lord. This is incarnation. In incarnation, the Lord takes a dress, whereas that is why Krishna is not an incarnation. We may say so in the common man's, but very technically if you go, he is the Lord who descends as he is from the spiritual world. And whatever effects are to be created for our material eyes to see, he can do anything. So he makes it. We see him not because there is matter there. We see the deity because there is matter, Stula matter there. When Krishna came 5,000 years ago, you did not see Krishna with these eyes because he had a Stula body. His body, his transcendental Satchidananda Vigraha, enabled my gross eyes also to see him, because that's the omnipotent body of the Lord. So when Lord himself comes down, he doesn't have to take a dress. This is where the Mayavadis make their error, their erroneous conclusion, that if Krishna has to descend, or if Brahman has to descend, Brahman has to take a Triguna Sharira, which may be predominantly sattvic. They say Krishna, Vishnu, predominantly sattvic influenced bodies. So Mayavadis, Maya, they say the body is also like my body, your body. Krishna, when he comes down, he takes a body, Maya body of material energy. That is different from incarnation. So in the incarnation also something wonderful happens. Because the Lord's original form is omnipotent, as soon as he enters the Stula Vigraha, all the Stulaness is gone. Only for my eyes it is there. So therefore it is said that when Lord himself comes or as Archa Vigraha, there is no difference as far as his presence is concerned. He is equally present. There are different leelas of the Lord. So if somebody wants to quickly advance in Krishna consciousness, then he should just continuously focus on the incarnation of the Lord with his senses. If it is Archa Vigraha, then continuous meditation on the form of the Archa Vigraha. Your attention is touching the Stula Rupa and also the transcendental Rupa. And quickly there is a transfer of, by association, there is a transfer of Satchidananda energy. Iron put in the fire becomes red hot by transfer of energy. The same way, the Lord descends into any element. He is descending, He is the Surya of Satchidananda. He is personally present, plus surrounding Him is all pure Satchidananda energies. No Maya, no Asatna Chittan Nirananda. Every incarnation is a repository or every Stula Vigraha of Archa Vigraha is a repository or a source of Sat, Chitta, Ananda Shaktis. So by associating, by worshipping, by fixing our attention on the Rupa, our soul's Maya consciousness goes away and Krishna consciousness starts manifesting or awakening. Because Krishna consciousness is originally there in the heart of every living entity. So this, of course, Dhruva Maharaj, he went through the instruction of his spiritual master, got initiated, lived his life as instructed by his spiritual master, had a good sadhana, simultaneously ruled as a king, as a perfect representative of the Lord. He did his duty, and following that, in the end, he is taking up this step of going to Badrikashrama for exclusive concentration on the transcendental form of the Lord, uninterruptedly, avyavahita, without stopping. Today, we have the same facility that Dhruva Maharaj had got without needing to go to Badrikashram. See the good fortune of this particular yuga. Kalikale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatara. Simply by chanting, here to focus on the form of the Lord, you have to, and uninterruptedly if you have to focus on the form of the Lord, it is not easy. You have to go through all the early stages of Ashtanga Yoga. Then only your visual will get fixed in Samadhi. Whereas you see, the Lord is very merciful. He incarnates into the sound. Into the sound that me and you utter. the Stula Shabda. Just like in the Stula Vigraha, the Archa Vigraha incarnates. And when the Lord incarnates, it is called Archa Vigraha. You go to a showroom, so many Krishna Vigrahas will be there. They are idols or Stula Vigraha. The Lord has to enter, then it becomes Archa Vigraha. That is why Prabhupada says, foolish thing that we are worshipping idols. No, that's not true. We are not worshipping idol. We are worshipping Krishna himself who has entered that Stula Vigraha. What you see is an idol, but that is not, is a representation. Into that the Lord himself has entered, taking a form that is similar to the external deity. So as far as my seeing is concerned, I am seeing this Stula Vigraha. The Lord has taken a form exactly replica of that and entered. So seeing the Stula Vigraha is seeing the Satchidananda Vigraha of the Lord. In the same way, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This gross sound is produced by my tongue. The Lord has willed. Then anybody who moves his tongue, I enter that sound. My Shuddha Nama, Krishna has his eternal form, name, etc. in the spiritual world. So there is an eternal name which is eternally sounding in the spiritual world. That sound is called Shuddha Nama, Krishna Shuddha Nama, Shuddha Rupa. That Shuddha Nama is the Surya of Satchidananda. So in Kali Kale, Nama Rupe, that means that Shuddha Nama, which is not different from Krishna. Krishna and Krishna's name is no difference. It's Krishna himself. Krishna Shuddha Nama is equal to Krishna. Now he is so merciful, he enters the sound that we produce and he creates another equivalence. What is that? That sound is me. You embrace that sound, you hear that sound. This is a special facility. Whenever Krishna incarnates into any Stula Vigraha, there is no difference. It means Krishna has taken that body. There is no difference between Krishna and his body at any point of time, whether it is his original body or an incarnated body. Because he is omnipotent. So therefore the sound that I chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, it is Krishna himself. By the will of the Shuddha Nama, whatever Shuddha Nama can give, this Shakti Avesha Nama can give. So just like the Rupa of the Lord has incarnated into the Archa Vigraha, just like Krishna's original Rupa in the spiritual world incarnates into Archa Vigraha, Krishna's original name in the spiritual world enters into the sound that we utter. And here the Lord is so merciful. The Shastra has so many vidhi before the Lord enters Archa Vigraha. Of course, a pure devotee is always seeing Krishna everywhere. Even if he goes to a showroom, he sees a form of the Lord, it's Krishna himself immediately. Because anyway, he is seeing everywhere Krishna and his energies. So the holy name is also Krishna himself. Nama Chintamani Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It's a Rasa Vigraha. It is not a dead Vigraha. Nama Chintamani Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Only a living being can have Rasa. Rasa Vigraha. Nitya Mukta Purna Shuddha. Nitya Mukta, it's a Rasa Vigraha, is a person. Nitya Mukta is Krishna himself. Krishna is Nitya Mukta, eternally liberated. Normally when we say persons, then so many limitations are there for that person. Limited body, limited senses, limited. Nitya Mukta. And Purna Shuddha. No three gunas. Krishna's incarnation has no three gunas. As soon as the deity enters the body of the deity, Stula Sharira, then it no longer Triguna effect is there in that material. It is only our blindness, the seer's blindness. The seer is influenced by Rajoguna, Tamoguna and Rajoguna. Therefore his seeing of deity is also influenced. But right in the deity there is no more gunas. Just like an ordinary wire and an electrified wire. As soon as electricity enters, it is no longer ordinary wire, it is electrified wire. So the Vigraha of the Lord, the Stula Vigraha is Satchidananda iced Vigraha. Where can there be Triguna there? No Triguna there. Same thing with the holy name. Because the Lord has willed. So, see the comparison. The access that we have, the conditioned souls have with the Rupa Avatara or the Archa Avatara is not easily available. Dhruva Maharaj went through all the process of purification, body, mind, everything through Ashtanga Yoga, breathing, everything. Then his attention could get access, uninterrupted access. But here the same Krishna himself, this holy name. Just like how careful you will be to go into the deity room and touch the deities or do anything in the deity room. That much careful we should be. The Lord has given concession. Simply chant Hare Krishna and there. But with great reverence, great respect, feeling the presence of the Lord, which happens due to the Shraddha that develops due to repeated hearing from a pure devotee that this is Krishna himself, and understanding the Tattva, how it is Krishna himself, by intellectual conviction. Divya Gyan, repeatedly hearing the Divya Gyan. One develops first an intellectual belief. Oh, this is Krishna. Intellectual belief means behind that there is a reason, you understand. After that, it becomes an emotional belief. You don't need intellect. Krishna is here. And just like Dhruva Maharaj went into trance, samadhi, it is very much possible for one to start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra avyavahita, uninterruptedly, undeviatedly. Go on chanting and hearing that very sound. It is not a mechanical thing that is effect that is going on when you do japa. It is how my spirit attention is touching the transcendental Shakti Nama, Shakti Avesha Nama. Continuously by putting a piece of iron in the fire, without removing it from the fire, it can become red hot. So we are all Nama Sadhakas. At least sometimes you should experience. We should gun 16 rounds. Hearing, chanting, hearing, chanting, hearing, chanting, hearing, feeling. Simply chanting, hearing, one feeling is enough. Chanting, hearing, feeling the presence. Lord is here. Chanting, hearing, and feeling His priti. That the Lord is so kind, He has come to me. He is here, right here. And when I hear, I embrace Him. Yes, it's a sound embrace. But my covering is so thick, I don't experience it. But the fact is that He is touching. Just like we put gloves, rubber gloves on your hands and keep it on a heater. You are very close to the heater. Heater is right there. Heater is touching the gloves. Heat is being passed on. But it is not felt by you because of the rubber. Insulation. Our chittam, contaminated consciousness with so many anarthas, that is the rubber gloves. Even though we are hearing also. If you don't hear, of course, you are not even touching the heater. Now, after touching the heater, why I am not in bliss? Wait patiently. Rubber gloves is there. Chittam is there. My contaminated old consciousness, old memories of old pleasure beliefs, all those things are there. Misconception, I am this body. And bodily connected things are mine. So we have our own dunya created, that is chittam, now chittam. It has to melt. If it has to melt, you have to hold it. Not put inside, put the rubber gloves, touch the heater, take it out, again touch the heater, take it out. Will the rubber melt? Rubber will not melt. So it is something to be experienced. Uninterrupted, undeviated hearing. Devotees should take it as a challenge. The Lord is so merciful. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you should chant loudly. These are the facilities in Kali Yuga. There is the Lord's form is silent. The moment you hear loudly, that will suppress our thinking. Our thinking is what? You can say thinking is a rubber gloves. Simply hear and feel the presence of the Lord. Feel priti of the Lord. Call out from the depth of the heart. Hrit Purvaka Japa. Jubilantly chant. When you know the Lord is present before you, be jubilant. Suppose the Lord appears before you in form, you will be jubilant or not? Why here less? Because Shraddha is less. If Shraddha deepens, automatically one will feel jubilant. The energy, the jubilant energy comes from the Nama himself. It's a combination, it's not a Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, you are interacting with a person. It's not that you, whatever technique you do and something happens with the holy name. No. There's continuous reciprocation. So this is important. Uninterrupted. That is why Krishna is. Because that is the highest thing. Self-realization means nothing but my attention is fixed on Krishna. Thus, the devotee gets benefit of achieving the ultimate goal of life. That is to say, becomes always absorbed in the thought of the Lord. Either his form, either his name, or his activities, or his gunas. Oh, he is omnipotent. Remember his leelas. Like day for yesterday, that Udupi Swamiji was speaking. Nice example he gave to explain. We know all these things, but example he gave to connect how Krishna's body is not an ordinary body. If it is an ordinary body, he gave the example of how the forest fire was swallowed by Krishna. How did he swallow? So it's not an ordinary body. Next he said that Krishna showed the whole universe in the mouth. Not ordinary. Ordinary body can do? No. Whole universe was there in this mouth. Next he said, holding the Gordhan for 7 days on his little finger. Is it possible? Ordinary body? No. So these leelas, when you hear, you say, my God, this is not, Krishna is not any Triguna body at all. It is Satchidananda Vigraha. Like that, so many are there. Every activity of Krishna, we should think of that and become jubilant. We should think of that and think of the pastimes of the Lord in terms of his qualities. His opulence, his supreme controllership. Not a blade of grass can move without its sanction. He is the super soul of everything and everyone. So they are meditation. And exclusive meditation. Why we cannot think of the Lord now? Because there is so much contamination. We think, we have no proper concept of who is Krishna. That is why don't think of Leelas of Krishna to start with. Prabhupada didn't say that. You read Krishna book, fine. But he said you focus on chanting and hearing. And one day when there is a clear conception of who is this Krishna, what is Krishna's body, then his Leelas can be understood. Especially Leelas of Rasa dance. Cannot be understood. So simply now, here, and a day will come, because it is Krishna himself that sound, when you are qualified, or he'll make you qualified, when he thinks it is right time, where in the heart the transcendental gunas and leelas of the Lord will play naturally. The to give you the sweetness of that meditation. Sweetness of the pastimes of the Lord. Lord's pastime is not an intellectual remembrance. So even during chanting, Prabhupada says, don't think of the pastimes of the Lord. Please hear, because your thinking now is not pure. You have to awaken your pure Krishna consciousness, and then thinking will happen from the spiritual mind. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, in the beginning you mentioned that what Dhruv Maharaj saw was not the incarnation. What Dhruv Maharaj saw was not incarnation. Incarnation means when the Lord comes in the material elements. So that means when we can see the Lord. So am I right, Prabhu? Am I right?
We can grossly see
the Lord. So now we are seeing this material world. So this material world is also said to be the Lord's universal form, Vishwarupa, which we are seeing. So now what is the difference between the Vishwarupa which we are seeing and which the Lord shown to Arjuna, for which Lord gave him the divine eyes?
Yeah, here you are seeing he gave him omnipotent eyes. Okay. Here you are seeing one small chunk of Vishwarupa. So my eyes can only catch small chunk of Vishwarupa. I can see this all. Now with Arjuna's eyes, he could not have got a glimpse of the entire Brahmanda, Vishwarupa. So therefore he had to be given a special eyes. That is not an eyes for seeing Divya Rupa, transcendental Rupa. That he was already seeing. He was already blessed. Every day he was with Krishna, he was seeing. But if you have to see this with this eyes, let's say you have to get a bird's eye view, you have to go beyond, right? You want to see whole Bangalore city, he is sitting here, you cannot see. If you go on a helicopter, you can see. So helicopter is on yantra. Similarly, Krishna gave him mystically one eyes. Now see the entire Brahmanda. So that is the special eyes that Krishna gave.
So we can say that this Vishwarupa is also Lord's incarnation.
Yes, it's incarnation. You can say it is incarnation. Super soul is a soul. Super soul's incarnation is material energy. Material Brahmandas. Because he is the soul of this Brahmanda.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, there are many pastimes like Madhvendra Puri Prabhu. Krishna came in his dream and told that I'm there in the forest, deep in the ground. For Rupa Goswami also like this, or for Udupi Krishna also, he was in the Gopi Chandan. So when the Vigraha is like this, buried deep in the ground and all like this, so what happens during that time? Vigraha, because Krishna told, I am suffering the heat, the cold, like this. So the Vigraha, how he goes through this kind of experience? Is it something that during that time he leaves, or he is always there for thousands of years he is there but suffering, or like this?
Yeah, Krishna never suffers material pangs of hunger, heat, cold, all these things. At the same time, just like Lord Ramachandra, if he never lost Sita. Nobody can take Sita from him, right? So like that, the Lord performs leelas for rasa, for his devotees. So we should take it like that. 1,000 years he might have been there, and it is to give that feeling to the devotee. And in any case, what is 1,000 years for Krishna? That means you are bringing him into material time. Correct? 1,000 years is nothing. एक सेकंड के पहले मेरे को जमीन के अंदर डाल दिया, एक सेकंड के बाद मेरा डिवोटी को हम बुला दिया, निकालो मेरे को. That is the time scale of Krishna. So Krishna is not limited, Krishna's consciousness is not limited by time, space, substance. He is only limited by rasa, bhakti. That's the only. Moment bhakti is there, he is in the spiritual world. Golokera Premadana, Harinama Sankirtana. He descends. This is one weakness of Krishna. Love of his devotees is a weakness. Otherwise, Krishna has no limitations. No limitation. No, we all experience limitation of time, place, time, space, and substance. And Krishna is no limitation, time, space, and substance. Where there is bhakti, he will cross limitation, time, space, and substance. Substance, you see, vigraha, stula vigraha. If there is bhakti, no, I will become that. Not that I cannot become a stone, idol. My Satchidananda vigraha I will become. Exactly same. What you can do with my Satchidananda vigraha, same thing. Receive, accept, reciprocate, can do. Same thing with Nama also. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You have to develop Shraddha, faith in the holy name. So powerful Shraddha is. Your quality of japa will go somewhere else.
Prabhu, there is this one, like many invaders in the past, Muslim invaders or many this, they have broken the deities. Unfortunately, devotees could not protect, or due to some reason, they have broken even the deities. So what happens in that case? Does the Lord leave the vigraha?
Yeah, he leaves the vigraha. Because you have to understand the tattva. It's an incarnation. Archa is an incarnation. You cannot bind him into that. Only bhakti can bind him. When there is no bhakti, why he should stay? When there is bhakti, he becomes. There is no bhakti, he is not there. He is not, so many deities are there in the showrooms. He is not taking offense. You are not offering arati, you are not offering, he is not taking offense. Because he is not taken a decision to go inside and reside. Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.